welcome to another campaign diary for the Troll Skull Club, our Dungeons and Dragons game that I DM. In this session, our intrepid adventurers, the Troll Skull Club, continuing their search for information about Quick's missing family. Quick, our tiefling sorcerer cleric. They've been traveling in the Underdark for a while, trying to figure out some sort of information or intel about what befell her family like 5 years ago. They ran into Aurora, who is Quick's wife, but for some reason, Aurora does not seem to want to see or talk to them, as keeps on evading their grasp. They figured out that they need to head to the city of Emberfell to hopefully find out some information about what Aurora is doing down here and where their children have gone to in the Underdark. Our intrepid adventurers have met up with a number of characters in the Underdark. Mara, a white dragonborn wizard, and Lydra Shadlove, the last remaining member of a House Shadlove, who were the previous rulers of the city of Emberfell. The city was overtaken by Duergar, led by a Lord Gwar Doomfist, who's part more machine than Duergar. So the players meet up with the Resistance, the Rebellion, who are working to take back the city of Emberfell from the clutches of Gwar Doomfist. So the players have kind of woken up in this camp. A couple of them decide to eat and talk for a little bit, while Quick and Harvey decide to head to the main tent to speak with Hjorrick, who's kind of the leader of this rebellion. It was fun role-playing this scene because Lydra is kind of taking the reins of the rebellion because her family used to rule the city. It is her right to take back this city. And so it's been fun playing a preteen barbarian who has a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, and a lot of angst. And so it's been fun showing her journey of trying to learn how to become a leader. Sometimes she says the wrong thing, sometimes she says things in anger or annoyance, and it's fun having her and having Hjorrick there to kind of teach her and guide her along the way. It's just a lot of fun. It makes for a lot of great humor. The characters get kind of introduced through a map, the city of Emberfell and the different districts. They find out that they need to go to the Jeweled Market. That is where the auction house is. Now, a couple of the players have different reasons for wanting to go to this auction house. Quick is hoping to find information about her children. She believes that possibly if her children were captured by Duergar and enslaved, they would have gone through the auction house. And then possibly she can figure out where they went after that. Our Aarakocra rogue, Harvey Birdman Whoosh, has been asked by the Nine Hells back in our Dragon Heist campaign. This campaign spun out of Dragon Heist, so while we were doing the Dragon Heist adventure, Harvey made a deal with an emissary of the Nine Hells to essentially, in return for the Castellanter's children their souls not being taken to the Nine Hells, he would deliver 100 souls to them. He would murder 100 creatures, 100 things, and deliver their souls to them. Yeah, fun stuff. Dragon Heist is really cool and really fun, and there's a lot of great stuff in there. But Harvey essentially has this brand of the number of souls that he's delivered. He's down to like 90 something now, but he was approached by the Nine Hells, and they were basically like, hey, we understand that you're heading to the city of Emberfell. There's a black market auction that happens there, and we have this intel that someone from the demonic army is trying to purchase a artifact, a legendary item from this black market. We want you to go there. We want you to buy it. Ooh, that's my pizza. And they basically want him to get this artifact before the demonic armies can. You know anything about D&D lore, devils and demons are in a constant blood war against one another, always looking for an upper edge or something to get more of a holding and end the war once and for all. They've been in a constant war for eons and centuries. So the devils are basically like, hey Harvey, hey man, ugh, we see that you're going to Emberfell. We want you to get this item for us. If you get it for us, we'll knock off 10 souls from your list. And Harvey agrees, and so he is also wanting to head to Emberfell to go to the auction and basically get this done and try to knock down the number of souls he has to deliver. Players all rally, they meet up together, and the rebellion says, "Hey, we will grant you access to. We have a way in. We know we have people in the city that are sympathizers and that want to help us, and so we can get you into the city." So they all decide, not all of them. Rhaenyra Neverember, their friendly rogue swashbuckler, who has been hanging out and is friends with them, decides to stay at the camp. He doesn't feel super comfortable about heading to this Underdark city just because he feels like he'll draw attention. And he's also wondering about what their plan is. He's like, look, we're here, we're with this rebellion. If we don't find any information about Quick's family, are we leaving or are we staying here to help them? And none of the party really has an answer for that. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, what happens with all of that. Sundry, our elven paladin, also stays at the camp. He's kind of begun to make friends with a lot of the soldiers in this rebellion, and also he's an Oath of Vengeance paladin, and he's about killing evil. That is his thing. That is his mission, and so he feels very at home with these people, and with them. He's just like, man, yeah, let's. He's all about kind of helping them out if it means that he can smite the wicked and evil. So the remaining members of the party, Bryn, the monk cleric, Harvey, the rogue, Quick, our tiefling sorceress, and Mara, the white dragonborn wizard, head to the city of Emberfell. They hide in the back of a covered wagon that is being driven by a kobold druid by the name of Zemyar. He's very much like, has a weird cadence to how he speaks, and he's just like, Zemyar, yes, Zemyar, do this. Says his name a lot, and so that was a little bit of fun, just role playing that situation. The players get dropped off into the Nesters district, which is the kind of working class area of the city, at the Blushing Spectre, this really run-down, kind of shoddy tavern. They meet Sinosuke, a dragonborn who runs the place and who is a supporter of this rebellion. After a funny scene where Quick uses the mending cantrip to just try and fix this tavern up, which it is just like holes and scuff marks and things all over the place. The players decide to head to the Jeweled Market and head to the auction house to register for the auction that's coming up the next day, and to see if they could just find any information. And that was when I got to introduce something that I was really excited about. I created a rumors and gossip table. I had all the players, I said, all right, everyone roll a d8. And if anyone, we had two of our players roll the same number, so I had one of them re-roll. And essentially, they overheard gossip and things happening in the city. They overheard conversations, and that was a lot of fun. That was a fun table to make, because it's just trying to figure out, all right, what is the culture or the culture pulse in the city right now? How are they all feeling, and what are they talking about? So the information they were able to overhear was that in the city, floating above the castle, the Crystal Spires, where Lord Doomfist resides, there is a floating citadel. Not exactly, nobody's 100% sure what goes on in the citadel, but they know that there's some sort of experiments and things that happen in there. Some of the residents of Emberfell believe that there is a beholder within the city. Some people don't 100% know what is going on up there, what creature it is, but the consensus that at least one of the players overhears is they're like, this is a beholder, I figured it out, it's a horrifying creature. Another information that they find is that it seems to already start spreading around that Lydra Shadlov is alive. and it seems to be generating some excitement within the city. That, oh man, finally maybe we can get away from the rule of Lord Doomfist, and get the city back to what it used to be. Another piece of information they find is that um, essentially there are two people talking about having somebody killed, hiring somebody to kill somebody, and one of these people is told to head into the Stargazers district, which is the entertainment district of the city. It's where the theater and where it's a very bohemian lifestyle where artists and musicians all kind of stay and party and hang out. They're told to head into that district and see the faces. So that's a little nugget that the players could follow if they want to, a kernel that they could follow, this Assassin's Guild, or they're not 100% sure what they are. And the last piece of information they find is that there are people in the city who believe that is a pawn in this situation. They believe that Doomfist is working for whoever is floating in that citadel directly above the Crystal Spires. So that was a lot of fun creating that rumor table and having the players roll for that, because there's obviously other pieces or kernels of information that they didn't learn, that they didn't figure out. So that's fun, and that's something I'm going to use more often, especially when they're traveling through a city or traveling through a market. Or, if they're keeping an eye out, there are obviously lots of things you can overhear. So that's something that is a really cool thing that I haven't really gotten to use, that I've never really used before, and it was a lot of fun generating. So they head through the jeweled market. They stop at the Emperor's Thread, which is a very high end clothing store. There is this tailor, Madame Nylir Moussois. This was a lot of fun because she is very like just an over the top the kind of like old Duchess, very big hoop skirts, curled hair, lots of like heavy makeup, and it was just a lot of fun role playing that character and kind of playing around with the character with the party, as they purchased a couple of just some jewelry and stuff to just make them fit in within the auction, because they know that this auction is some of the most powerful people, some of the most rich and ostentatious people are going to be there, and so they want to fit the part, and so they get quick. Our tiefling sorceress gets some like caps, I guess, at the end of her horns, like jeweled pieces. Our Harvey that gets kind of this metal plating with some chains that kind of go around his beak and kind of just add some accoutrements. And that was a lot of fun role playing this character, and she was just ridiculous and ostentatious, and we had some good laughs with this character. But then they continue and they head to the jeweled market. They speak with Rutherford, basically the will call agent who's at the front of the auction house, and they are able to get registered for the auction. And luckily, Harvey was given an amulet by the Nine Hells that basically stated I am here on business from the Nine Hells. And so that was able to show as his registration. He's being sponsored by the Nine Hells to be at this auction to purchase items for them. They do attempt to see if they can look at some of the merchandise, but Rutherford does not have it. He's a very dry individual, and he's used to people coming around and throwing their weight around and trying to throw their money around, and so he shuts it down quickly of just, no, it's not going to happen. We cannot allow anyone to view any merchandise beforehand. We don't want anyone trying to get a leg up on anybody else. This is kind of a blind auction. It is very much you come here and you see what we have and you buy it kind of a situation. After that, they're trying to figure out what to do next, and this is where the session kind of turned. I had planned for them to just kind of mess around, and I have all these shops ready. I was like, all right, they're probably going to just try and figure out. They're probably just going to investigate, sign up for the auction, and wait until the next day where they can. And Quick begins talking about how she's looking out for her wife. She's trying to see where if she's in the city, if anybody had seen her. And that's where DM John, where like John, who had planned all of this stuff beforehand, and John running the Dragonborn Wizard clashed. Because John, who planned all this stuff beforehand, was like, I mean, whatever, whenever she shows up, she shows up. Like, I've already got to kind of. But then John, playing the NPC character, was like, well, I have a locate creature spell. Why don't we just try it? And so I derailed my own. I kind of did something that I wasn't planning for. I derailed myself, if that makes sense. Because I was like, Mara just learned this spell. Like, she had just leveled up, just learned this spell. She knows that Quick is looking for her family, so of course she would bring it up and she would suggest the idea of maybe they could attempt to do it, especially since they were in the city. It has a range of 1,000 feet, which isn't super large, but based on where they were in the city. And it was funny as a moment for the players, because I was reading the spell description very specifically to see what it said. And then I also just had to stop, and because I know where Aurora, Quick's wife, is a day or two from now. I hadn't thought about where she would be right this second. And so I had to take a couple moments where I was like, all right, I know where she's going. Where is she right this second? And is she within range? And I thought about it. And I just thought realistically, yeah, she's holed up in this section of the city. And so it turns into a race to try and get to where the locate creature spell is telling them to go. So they're running through the city trying to get over to where they are. They go out of the Jeweled Market, heading towards the Stargazers District, which is the entertainment district. And the locate creature spell stops around this kind of like intersection section. Mara's not exactly sure where the spell was telling her to go. She's like, there's this rundown theater right over here, there's this brothel over here. It could have been any of these areas. Quick heads to the rundown theater. Harvey, Bryn, and Mara stay to watch the brothel. It was fun because I got to bounce back and forth between them. So before I would say like something that might be really important, I'd be like, and what is this person what are you doing, Harvey? You're watching the brothel? And so it was fun playing with each of the players' expectations of hopping back and forth between each of them. Quick heads into the rundown theater, and it's a lot of fun because how I described it is it's like where you'd see your best friend's one woman stage show. It is like one stage and a couple rows of chairs, and there's like one spotlight, and it's this gnome is telling like this really personal story about their dad, but also like throwing glitter in the air and like spray painting the two people in the audience in the face with water guns. So it's like this really like ridiculous scenario that's going on. Quick, however, does not see her wife in there. Harvey is watching the brothel, and I just explained to Harvey, I'm just like, yeah, I had him roll me a perception check, and I'm like, all right, 3 robed figures leave the tavern, leave the brothel. Another one leaves. And I was waiting for Cameron or for Harvey to be like, to try to prod some more, but he seemed to just be doing a baseline check to see if he sees Aurora, because he knows what she looks like. Well, you don't see her at face value, so unless you're going to take a further look at them, I'm not really going to go through describing them unless you want to make another roll or something like that. Bryn decides to follow the 3 figures that first head out, which is surprising, which is funny because, well, that was them. Bryn follows these 3 cloaked figures and notices that they're varying. Like one person's like a tall, normal size humanoid. The other 2 are much shorter. And the players know that no metagame outside of the game that Aurora was traveling with a kobold artificer. They know this outside of the game. So once I start describing the metal creature that is with these two robed figures, they start freaking out because they know it's her. In the game, obviously, they don't know that it's her. So Bryn follows them for a little bit, and then they head down an alleyway. Ooh, my pizza. So Bryn waits a couple of moments and then follows them down the alleyway that they head. He doesn't see anyone there. Or sorry, they don't see anyone there. So Bryn decides to hide behind a crate and just wait. Aurora had cast invisibility on herself and her companions. So noticing that Bryn was not leaving and was obviously waiting for them, she just, out of frustration and paranoia, casts banishment. So all Bryn hears is, "Wait, what are you doing?" From the kobold, because they leave invisibility and she casts a spell. Bryn fails the saving throw. Thing about banishment is that it just sends you temporarily to a plane of, it's not dangerous or anything. And so I explained that Bryn was floating within this kind of void of nothingness, and then pops back into the material, or pops back into the alleyway, and not knowing or understanding what happened. Quick and Harvey and them catch up to Bryn, and Bryn kind of explains, like, I was following these people, I disappeared, I don't know what happened, they're gone. And then Quick gets a message that says, I'll meet. Well, first I was being me and messing with them. Their friend Squall, who is back in Waterdeep, was used the sending spell to just basically be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm bored. How's it going? How's the Underdark?" And as Quick is responding to Squall, she hears a message in her mind that says, "I'll meet you at the auction." Quick rolled an Arcana check, understood that she has the message cantrip and knows that it's was able to understand and know the spell, and kind of looks and turns real quick and sees 120 feet kind of across the way, what looks to be Aurora, or her robes at least, and then she dimension doors away. This is where things get interesting. The whole chase and the whole trying to find her and all that stuff, I had to completely just improv and figure out what was going on, which is the fun part about Dungeons and Dragons, is that, the best laid plans of DMs don't really work out. And I did it to myself because I suggested that the character does have the locate creature spell, but I was also, you're playing the game, and so that Mara would have been like, "Hey, I know the spell, let's try it." She wouldn't just be like, "Oh, I'm just going to sit here and pretend that I don't have a spell that could possibly lead you to the person you're trying to find." That wouldn't make any sense. I just didn't have the foresight to think of that before the session. So if I did, I could have planned better. However, this is where I'm on the record, on my record. It's a record for me and my players, not for anyone else. Nobody else cares. Sometimes as a DM, you're trying to think of trying to think quickly and trying to think, all right, what would this character do in this situation? Aurora is very much dreading and not looking forward to this meeting with Quick. She has her own reasons and her own trepidations about doing it. And so she's been very cagey and had been running away. Aurora's a warlock. She cast invisibility and she cast banishment. She only has 2 spell slots. She should not have been able to cast Dimension Door. So I think I'm going to have to retroactively change that when we do our session next week. So instead of the ending of our session being she poofs away, you guys are trying to figure out what you're going to do next, she's going to run away, but that opens the door up for a very different beginning to next session. So yeah, it's just one of those situations where sometimes you're so wrapped up in the moment that you don't think about the internal logic of what's going on, and you're just like, oh, this is what she would do. She'd do this, and I looked at and I was like, shit, I wasn't keeping track for a spell slot. She doesn't have the ability to do. She technically can't do the spell right now. So instead of just letting that slide and be like, all right, well, this wasn't my plan. I'm going to roll with the punches because it might create interesting drama and an interesting moment. Who knows? This is a fun part about Dungeons and Dragons. As much as I want certain things, I want things to happen in it. Like I have an idea of like this is the story that I want to tell with my friends. It is a story I want to tell with my friends, and so I very much want their actions and their contributions to affect the direction of the story and what happens. If I just wanted to sit there and tell the story the way I wanted it to be told, I'd fucking read a book to them. But I don't want to do that. I want to play Dungeons and Dragons. So, yeah, next session's going to be interesting, and I can't wait to get all the text messages and tweets when my players watch this video, because it's going to be a very different session. It was what was originally going to just be, okay, she's disappeared, now you guys just sleep and head to the auction. The next day, it's going to be possibly a chase, possibly, I don't know what's going to happen, and that's exciting. So I don't know what's going to happen with Aurora. What happens if she catches up to her, if she nabs her, what if Aurora is forced to have this meeting that she's been pushing off and been dreading? It's very exciting, and I'm honestly more excited now that I put myself in this situation rather than just let me do things on my own time. I think that's something just as a dungeon master, just having to like, okay, yes, I want the characters to do this or this. I've been really good about not doing this way and not working this way. There are certain beats that's like I want this story beat to happen at this time. But hey, sometimes we can't control everything, and that's actually part of the excitement, is that I can't control everything. So as much as I had imagined what I thought the story beat would look like if they do meet up, well, this could be an even better one. So who knows? I'm gonna eat my pizza and hang out with the dog because he's doing good. So I will see you later.